Okay, Metro Monday. We're marching down the line. This is a little head fake because we went ahead to the Loudon Gateway and then we came back to the airport and the rail yard, which are pretty significant. Not as much for developers, right? Not the big growth right around each of the stations, but I think it's pretty significant. We'll talk about a few things. The next one we're going to do is Ashburn, and Tony Howard from Loudon Chambers been a big help when we're out here in the Loudon County. And the next one will be in Ashburn. So we'll put that word out. We're still trying to finalize which location will be at, but the next one, the Ashburn station, is there. So I started losing sleep thinking about the Silver Line after the Reston Town Center, right after the Reston station. Because I'm watching that wheelie. Boy, every time I go past that, that's a pretty cool operation, right? They're operational. Next one, Reston. They've got the vision. You know, Reston has got the center. We've got some great PowerPoints, but we need to see some action, right? So easy for me because I don't have risk. I don't have skin in the game. But I've been pushing the bankers, right? And I just went to NAIOP this morning, and Chairwoman Bulova was there, talked about what the future is, where they're going, the different frontiers, talked about where they're at with Reston, how nice that is. Tyson's is a great experiment, how to pull that together. Talked about the next frontiers being Route 1. Yeah, how about us, right? So she talked about the Silver Line growth. We've got to do this ourselves. We've got to be aggressive about what we're doing. So, since I've been asking all the questions, I made up a little pamphlet, and I put some questions in here that hopefully should make everybody feel a little bit uncomfortable. Because as you start thinking about this station with the rail yard, there's a lot of questions. What's the impact to the business, right? If I'm the Marriott Hotel right out the front door, maybe people don't need to stop at that Marriott anymore that's been there. Maybe they can go down to Reston Town Centers. We were at previous stations, some of the hotels said, you know what, I need a restaurant, because people come in for defense contracting, for doing proposals, will be here for a week or 2 weeks, and they're looking for some diversity. And once they take the Uber and drop them off at Reston, they're going, next time I'll stay in Reston. So we've got to start thinking about how we do business, what it means for us, and what we're going to do. I talked to Tony. I said, Tony, if people come out and they're going east, we want them to be aware of what's happening out in Loudon as well. Where are those places to stay? Where's the Visit Loudon? How do we get people excited about that as well? And part of it is the growth and the things we're going to do. So pretty excited about where we are, what we're going to do, but we need to start making some plans, because this is going to sneak up on us pretty fast. I keep hearing about all these things that are going to happen in 2020, and there's some that thinks this will get pushed a little bit further out. It may. But in order to do some of the big developments, things we're talking about around these metro stations are pretty significant. For community, for the rail yard, real excited about what that potential means. It's almost yeah, there's a rail yard out here, but Colleen from Loudoun County Economic Development talks about it's the beginning of the line. It starts out in Ashburn. It's out in Loudon. Well, it's really about the rail yard, right? So 450 employees, all the rail cars go back to bed at night in this rail yard, and we're going to hear a little bit about that from our friends that are going to talk about the rail yard and the airport. But what does that mean? To me, it means there's one entrance and exit, right? It has nothing to do with how they built it where it is. For us, that means one entry and exit. If I lived off of 606, what times? What are the shift changes? What happens when I used to fly night flights when I was in the Air Force, usually grabbing some gas or getting a cup of coffee or something to eat before I'm going in or coming out on those late night flights. So what happens with the shift work? Are they stopping at those stores? Do they have times it's going to be booked? We need to start thinking about this. We need to start working with other rail yards and talking about what they do, what are the business rhythms, how that works. What is the potential? Are all those folks going to come typically that live further closer to DC? Are they going to move out here? Will there be opportunities for folks in Ashburn and Herndon to work and maybe fill in some jobs that people don't want to move or don't want to commute out here? Well, let's start asking those questions. They're not all going to get answered today, because we're going to come back around the future metro stations. I want people thinking about the business side of this, because that's an important piece to what we do, right? So we talk about in the chamber for the Dulles, it's the 3 C's, right? It's commerce, community, and communications. This is all 3 of them right here, right? Because it's about the business of what we're trying to do. It's about community, people's jobs and employment, and it's also about communication, listening and receiving. What are we telling our elected officials? What are we thinking about our planning and future? So these two stops in particular, with the airport and the rail yard, are pretty important to us, and they're going to drive a lot of other things that'll happen and what those business rhythms become. So real excited today to have that conversation. I queued up a few questions. Feel free to take those questions, wrap some of your interest around them, but this is meant to be a dialogue. So thank you very much.
I want to get started talking about just about the Dulles Airport Station and show you what it's going to look like, what it looks like today, what it'll look like in the future, and help you to understand a little bit about what this station really is and what it means to the community. If this is the map that shows you where Phase 2 runs out and where the station is. In fact, I just drove there, and I think this may be a record day for departures at Dulles Airport. Traffic was a mess. It's very, very visible out there now. You can really see it. The aerial guideway there is complete and ready for everybody to go. But look and see the businesses that are around it. And the airport's authority per se does not envision a whole lot of new development immediately adjacent to the airport. And one of the things that is changing is a lot of the food efforts in that area. They're still, I mean, it's not changing. The restaurants in that area, they're pretty much all behind the security lines. It's not like National Airport has been, where you can drop somebody off at the airport and take them to dinner first outside of security. That also is changing over at National. They're going to the way Dulles is at this point in time. But this was not built as a destination station per se for people to come and park and catch the train into town or catch the train from the airport outside to Ashburn. You'll have to pay a pretty penny to park if you choose to park at the airport and use the rail line, because number one, it's not convenient for you to walk. Number two, you'll pay airport rates. You're not going to pay WMATA rates or anything like that. I think next, I just want it is planned as a commuter station. As I said, none of that parking at the airport is going to be available for rail users particularly. That parking we have a hard enough time accommodating the passengers that we have there and parking in the garages there. But this is what the airport station looks sort of like today. It is not quite finished, but this is what it will look like. You can see that it's multi-story. It's directly across the north garage, or what you used to call as Garage 1, parking garage there. The trains will come in on the upper platform where you see it there, and then passengers will take the escalators and elevators down to the underground area right in front of the station, where there are going to be improved mobile sidewalks that you can get on, and they're going to run and carry you over to the terminal. They're basically where they were prior to the rail construction, when it was an access point from the parking garage just to the terminal. I'll show you some pictures in a minute what it looks like today. That tunnel at this point in time is still closed. It was closed for construction. It will open late summer. Could be, maybe September, but we're making a lot of progress in there. It will open before the station opens so the people who are parking in the garage can use it. I want you to get a feeling of how tall this station is. This will be one of the longest escalators in the existing metro system. So if you're used to the big tall escalators downtown, this is going to be like that, big and tall. You're looking at the station more if you were facing it. You see the large screen wall in front of it. That is there sort partially as a wind barrier. The way the station and the garage are located at the airport, it's sort of a wind tunnel and sometimes of the day. And the contract to build that screen wall was just let about a month ago. The original contractor was finding some difficulties in actually constructing what we needed, so we have pulled it out and have a separate contractor coming in to build that. If you go back couple of years, this is what the station looked like when we were first digging it out, and this gives you an idea of the depth of the underground portion that I was talking about. Here you see the construction as it progressed. Today it's completely done through that area after all the piers were put into place. It's getting closer and closer to where it looks like now. This is what it looks like now. We've taken a few tours to this area recently. We took the State Secretary of Transportation out there about 2 weeks ago, and she was very excited as to what she saw there. The spreading out through the airport. The aerial guideway throughout the airport is complete at this point. That also includes the aerial tracks that lead out toward the what we were talking about with the maintenance facility. The maintenance facility and the airport are all in different tracks. There's a spur. We may go back and look at that map in a few minutes to show you that. These were setting the last 4 girders on the airport. This took place about 5 months ago. I think it was March, as well as I can tell. Was one of the most exciting portions of construction of the aerial facilities, where everybody actually walks they're up in the air working. And most of these people are supposed to have on safety gear that anchors them to something, and I hope they do in this picture. We try not to show pictures where we have any kind of safety violation. Here again is the train moving away from the airport. Here we go again. If you drive out to the airport, you really are surprised how it snakes through the existing structures. Building this aerial guideway through there was a real challenge for us and for a lot of the businesses, especially the rental car operations, because we built right in front of them, and each one of them had to give up their entranceways for certain periods of time. So we impacted the police facilities at the airport. The biggest impact was on the cargo facilities, and you know how important those are to the entire operations of the airport. FedEx flew their people up from Memphis several times to make sure we were really going to keep them informed, and we did. We had daily communications with all of those folks, and all the food service operators in that same area that supply meals to the airlines. The pedestrian tunnel that I referred you to, that you was used to sort of be dark, if you've ever dark and dreary walked through there late at night. These are the new tunnel, the new pedestrian access sidewalks. One of the things that we're building throughout the system, and we wanted to show you this one at the airport, because you hear us talking about how the power goes into the tracks. We have a whole series of about 15 different traction power substations along the aerial corridor. You'll see the red brick little buildings at different spots. They're pretty visible in Tyson's, because in that area we built them right in the middle of business and residential areas, where in phase 2 they're more nestled into trees and off not quite as developed areas. But this is what the inside of one of them looks like. Those are all computers. They're just shell buildings full of computers. Sometimes there's no one in there, but there's usually people stopping by every hour or two to check on them. Now let's go out to the rail maintenance yard. It will be one of the largest, and maybe the largest, rail yard in the metro system. Rail yards are fairly self-sustaining entities. People are there 24/7. That's where all the maintenance and other rehab situations take place with the rail cars. This here's an aerial view that shows the spur and the 95-acre site. There's a design. It will accommodate 220 rail cars to be worked on during off-peak and off hours. Now that's off-peak hours for the trains to be running, so you can tell it's going to be very busy in this area midnight to 5 a.m. in the mornings. It will be a 24-hour facility. At this point in time, the only people who really will see it are the people who work in the yard. You can see the structures, when you're driving down 606 and are aware of what the buildings are, for a long time, some of you will remember, it was a great big pile of red dirt because it was all the dirt that was hauled out of Tyson's Corner when the tunnel was built there, was placed here. It has been now spread out, flattened in this area and on other parts of the airport to level off some of the land there. But there are five buildings. Can you go back just a minute? There are five large buildings. I would call them spacious, as you will see in a few minutes. There's a service and inspection building. Do not ask me what the maintenance of way building actually does, because I don't know. I don't know what that stands for. There is a transportation and police building that was going to be used as a police center. Metro has decided they really probably don't need that, but it's already built, and so it will be maintained as that kind of facility. And now we're talking to different other police and fire emergency uses who may need a facility in this part of the region that can use part of that. There's a large warehouse and there's huge train wash facilities. There's some interesting equipment you'll see as we go into here. This is the bird's eye views, looking east, and
These are a year apart.
yeah, this was last year, this is this year. Same thing looking in the other direction. Notice all the track in place in the 2018 picture down here. Most of all the track work at the rail yard has been completed. This is what that service and inspections building is. Notice all this amazing equipment. It's not quite as fancy as what's perhaps in all the data centers that are in this area, but it's very challenging. There's a control tower that keeps up with what's going on at the yard, but it's also, everything in the yard has a height limit because it's so close underneath the flight patterns that are coming in at the airport, and it will be lit at night. You will see you'll be able to see activity. If any of you are familiar with where the West Falls Churchyard is, near the West Falls Church Metro Station, it's that area going down 66 that kind of looks like prison walls because of the little air ventilation systems. That site is completely surrounded by residential. And since the rail yard has gone in there and expanded, it was an existing yard, phase one expanded it. It's been amazing to watch some of the tear down houses become $1.6 million houses right next to that rail yard. It's an interesting thing to go see. Train wash facility, exactly what it is. Trains go in there and get cleaned up and washed and ready to go again. And I think that's it. I wanted to throw in some information a little bit, and we'll just go ahead and do the next slides because I know we have spent an incredible amount of time, and we should be in this group, looking at the potential around each and every station in phase two, seeing what it can be done. And I wanted to just remind everybody that yes, it is an amazing, each station is its own entity, but each station is a key part of the overall system. And the system itself is what is bringing incredible amount of economic development through the whole region. So what goes in Tyson's is equally important to people who live in Ashburn, and people in Tyson's are finally realizing that Ashburn is important to them too. And the understanding of the whole network is a really, really important thing. And each one of them will develop their own personalities in some way. But I wanted to show you some examples. That's an aerial view that he just flipped from Tyson's with just a small sampling of new development that has sprung up or is underway since the rail line came into Tyson's. It has been much faster than anybody anticipated. I think that same thing will happen for Loudoun County and for Herndon. That's about half of what's currently going on, and within the last week, Apple has announced that they're looking to bring approximately 25,000 people into the section of the rail line over near the McLean Station and near the headquarters of Capital One Bank. There's a big deal announced kind of every day, and there's like 19 cranes now on site within around the 4 stations in Tyson's. Go on to another. This is just samples of things that are going on in Tyson's. A lot of you may remember the old Commons, or some of you might have had an apartment there, Tony, remember? And all that's going, and the buildings over there now with the blue spots on the top are will be residential structures with swimming pools on top, as you can see. The Scotts Run area down here is where Apple is looking at. The Capital One's headquarters building will be the tallest building in the Washington region, except for the Washington Monument, and it would be taller than the monument if it was on the same ground level heights. That's moving along really, really well. But those are other things that what the old Tyson's Corner Center Mall used to look like. This is what's there now with the mall all around it. The Greensboro Station, the one next to across the street from from Marshall Shopping Center, and Home Goods, quickly becoming home to the borough, which is going to have the largest Whole Foods in the country. Tyson's, which didn't have any grocery stores at all until about 6 or 7 years ago, when Harris Teeter came in, and now there's going to be three or five. But then let's go a little. This is the new 52-story building. It's immediately adjacent to the Spring Hill Metro Station. At least that's where it's being built. It's funded by the Saudi government. It will be a very, very tall building. It will finally be taller than the Sheraton Hotel along the Route 7 corridor. This is Reston, and you've all seen this at Wheelie Avenue in Reston. I want you to look at this because this is really the prototype for all the other stations in the Dulles corridor except for the airport station. It gives you an idea that everybody's going to have that crisscross in the middle at every station with sufficient lighting to brighten up your skyline. Even if you're worried about your skyline, they're changing. I think that's about it. I know you have questions on the different subjects that we touched on. I'll be happy to try to answer them.
It's a pleasure to be able to join you this afternoon to discuss what I think has been a very exciting project. I've had the privilege since about 1993 to actually work with the rail project from a planning perspective. When the Barton Board of 1992 requested the Planning Commission to begin planning the toll road. And so we created the toll road plan back then, which included, I think, 13 nodal sites where potentially you could have development as such where a rail stop could be in Loudoun County. But later in life, we took a dose of reality. We pulled that back and went down to 2 stops, 2 nodal sites in Loudoun County to include the site at 606 and then the Ashburn Station. I was also afforded the opportunity by Mr. Barton to work regionally on the planning efforts to bring rail out to the western part of Fairfax County and into Loudoun County. Now, I know there's a great debate whether we are the end station or the beginning station. I just remind folks that the sun starts the day coming up from the east, and that is the beginning of the day. Well, that's where all the commuters start, is at the day out in Ashburn when they will jump on the rail. We are the beginning of the day for many commuters going into Tyson's Corner and on into Washington, D.C. As such, we need to not only look at our sites in Loudoun County, and I'm sorry I do carry that perspective of Loudoun County for all the years, but even in Herndon and in Reston as well. If we just create commuter sites, we fail in the end. We've got to look at all our sites as 24-hour destination sites to be as successful as we can. And when I was chair, I pushed that effort, and I see the current board in Loudoun County promoting that same effort. And without rail, I don't think we would have many unique opportunities that are coming forward now. I remember back when, as a board, we came to that day where the vote was taking place to join in the Metro Compact. We were obviously successful on a Loudoun basis. It was unanimous. It won by a 5-4 vote. And grateful that we were able to get Ken Reed to come to our side on that vote. Now, it's interesting to me, you know, I'm one who has loved gardening, planting trees. But if I planted a tree to swing on it, I would fail. It takes a long time for a tree to grow and to be as such a mass to be able to host a swing on it. So we plant trees for the next generation to be able to swing on that tree. Growth in Loudoun County because of the rail, we hope, does happen overnight, but that's not necessary reality in all things. When I was on the commission, when I first started, we probably had about 80,000 citizens in Loudoun County. When I left the seat as chair, we had roughly around 380,000. And it does seem like growth happens overnight. In fact, when I left, I think I had the opportunity to, in the process, be a part of approving about 60 schools in Loudoun County to keep up with our growth. But that doesn't mean growth will happen overnight because of the rail. But we have a unique opportunity because we have the green fields in Loudoun County at 606 and at the Ashburn station, as well as the innovative station, and we have redevelopment at Herndon, and I think it's fairly exciting. If we work hard, if we promote it hard, and I think we will have big things to occur in the near term. I am very excited about Amazon potentially being in Loudoun County and Fairfax. We have Apple possibly coming to Tyson's Corner. Those two, or just one of them locating in this area, will help to change the game, I think, for us. And as we go forward in this effort, I hope that the Dulles Chamber, as well as the Loudoun Chamber, will keep very active at the local, state, and even the federal level. We need to continue to get the feds, hopefully, to reverse course a little bit, put more money into the funding of Metro, particularly for the expansion and improvements of the system. The system was developed really to support the federal government, but yet they have not kept up with their part, I think, in the cost of Metro. Also, in terms of that decision making, I think first and foremost, the principle needs to be do no harm to the airport. The airport has been, will be, and continue to be our key to economic development in this area. I know as chair how many times that I've talked to businesses locating to Loudoun County or who are in Loudoun County, that the airport was a major driver for them being there because they wanted to do business throughout North America as well as around the world. And so while there's opportunities perhaps to look at residential where we haven't, I maintain myself the personal position that whatever is done, whatever decision is made, that it needs to be based around the fact that we protect the potential growth of the airport. And then thinking back to something John said about our young folks going to San Francisco and Seattle, and I'm thinking, my gosh, with what I've heard since the last week, I would hope the Buddy Risers of the world and Fairfax County would be out in Seattle and California and promoting this area from a cheap cost standpoint. In fact, I'm kind of hoping after last week, we'd hear the possibility of 2 Amazon headquarters with what's gone on in Seattle. But I think there's ample opportunity if we take the opportunity, work together as 2 chambers, as the business community, and as local governments to promote this area. It is an exciting area. I've loved this area. That's one reason that I have served this county over the many years that I have. And it is an area that I think is second to none. And where else do we have where we have the nation's capital, the growth that we've had in the Northern Virginia region, and then for many who like to take the opportunity to visit wine country. And it is all within a 30 or 40 minute drive. And so let us be careful as we go forward, protect the airport, be wise in our planning efforts. And one last thought that is of concern to me. We are all excited about Amazon coming, and hopefully Apple as well. Local governments have to remember one thing. It is exciting to support big deals like this. My gosh, 50,000 jobs with Amazon. What'd we say, 20-some thousand with Apple? They've got to provide the opportunity for housing to be constructed to support the employees that are coming to fulfill the jobs that are here. And what better way to do that at our nodal sites along the rail areas to provide for the higher density to accomplish that as part of the solution. Now, not all of it can happen within the Silver Line corridor, but a substantial amount can accomplish that. But we can't, on one hand, say we support this without, on the other hand, supporting the infrastructure that is needed to make that all happen, and that includes housing for these people. And so, John, I look forward to helping you guys out in whichever way that I can, because it is an exciting opportunity. And I'll take questions if you want me to. But anyway, I congratulate you for doing this and look forward to the Ashburn station discussion too.
Any questions? Scott? Yes.
Not everyone can take the metro on a daily basis. People need the flexibility of their cars. And it seems that the tolls keep going up on the toll road and the Greenway. Is there any concern that those continued increases are going to stymie growth in Loudoun County and in the area?
I will say we've had to deal substantially with the Greenway tolls. And I'm just the Greenway, I'm not talking about the toll road itself. You got two different operators. With respect to the Greenway, I think, well, heck, I'm not wearing that other hat, so I'm going to say how I feel. I think what's going on is a sham. And quite frankly, they're using this toll road to support other infrastructure entities of that corporation. And I just think that the state government, when the deal was put together a bad deal on behalf of the citizens of Virginia, and more particularly all the commuters who could use it or who would wish to use the Greenway. However, with the concern that we had during my tenure, we worked aggressively to solve the transportation issues that we were having from a road missing link standpoint. I had initiated the board at one point to allocate 2 cents of whatever the tax rate was to be dedicated for transportation, mainly road construction. At the same time we did that, thank goodness the state came out with its legislation that created the opportunity for more revenue to be generated to go through the Northern Virginia Transportation Commission, because that provided substantial money to us to begin doing much of what has been constructed or is now being constructed, from improvements to Route 28, 606, working with the developers. We got Gloucester Parkway completed and the bridge done there. We see what is happening on Route 7. We've got the interchange almost completed at 659 and et cetera. So we are working to improve the road system, and I believe Fairfax is well on the way to doing the same, so that it gives the options to those who cannot or will not take Metro. And hopefully, one of the options that will be given to these folks is a job here in Loudoun County, so thereby they don't necessarily have to commute and do so only by choice. Thank you, everybody.
Please give Scott a round.
In 1964, Robert Simon began developing the town he named Reston. He envisioned a suburban town that had the energy and lifestyle of an urban city. Public art was a significant component of his vision. Simon hired the Uruguayan-born artist Gonzalo Fonseca to create sculptures at the Lake Ann Village Center. He gave Fonseca one key guideline: kids must be able to climb on it.
One of the things that Fonseca dreamt up was a concrete boat. There were 2 kids seated in the boat hollering bloody murder. So I approached them and I said, "What in the world is the matter?" And one of the kids pointed out in the distance and said, "Sharks, sharks." Well, of course, that is what it's all about. Stretching the imagination.
Today, Fonseca's work is not only seen at the village center, where it's been enjoyed by children for nearly 50 years, but also in some surprisingly unusual spaces.
We were just blessed with having Fonseca. He fell in love with Reston, and these ideas are almost altogether his. Obviously, we didn't stop him. All it was costing us was concrete.
Some of Fonseca's most enjoyable pieces are in the first underpass in Reston.
If you look over there, you'll see a little window. I don't know what the stone is doing in it. Some mischievous kid put it there. But at any rate, the thing that's fun about it is there's a little ladder etched in the concrete to give Romeo a chance to get up there. A little bit of whimsy. I love them. I just do love them.
When the Initiative for Public Art Reston, or IPAR, selected its first public art project, it found inspiration from Simon's initiative and selected an underpass as the canvas.
When we see that an underpass was part of the first movement in public art at Lake Anne Village Center, I think that's a good starting point. And children use them, adults use them, so they are part of the everyday life of Restonians.
IPARC commissioned the Maryland-based artist Valérie Théberge to create a permanent glass mosaic for the underpass.
An empty wall is always wonderfully inspiring to me. I mean, the potential of an empty space. I was thinking of rest in the area. I thought of how green it was, the trees. So I wanted to capture the spirit of that in the mosaic.
Valérie Théberge was selected given her artistic excellence and also because of her experience and very successful approach with the community and children.
Théberge developed a 5-week-long mosaic program with 35 students from the Hunters Woods Elementary School for the Arts and Sciences.
This is what it's going to look like. This is going to be above the underpass. That's on the left and on the right. So all of you are going to make little stars that I'm going to place throughout the big mosaic.
You're just supposed to take one.
Choose the one you want. You're going to lay out your first row and then glue them down. 1 dot of glue on each one. Like that's fine. Just next time maybe a little less glue. Yeah. We're learning, so it's fine. Little less glue. I'll tell you why. When you put mortar underneath them, you're not going to be able to get the mortar through because the glue is going to stop it, and then they won't stay on the wall. So we really need to just a dot. And if you want, I can get you something to wipe it off with.
Working with the kids, it was delightful. I was impressed at the level of focus the children had and creativity and the ability to have each and every piece unique. Nobody was copying anybody else's. Everybody had a really good sense of, you know, what they wanted to do for their project.
We wanted energetic colors and colors that kind of represented colors on a flower, so we chose green, yellow, and orange.
We're going to do like a green rectangle. Okay. The smaller ones, and fill the rest in with red.
Okay. To see the brilliant colors that you would never think of, you know, the combination of colors that they put in and think of shapes that you would normally not do as an adult is fantastic.
Like I'm doing a thing that will last longer than most other things that people do. Like this will be on the wall for a long time. And other things might pass, but this will still be on the wall.
It is very important to involve the kids in public art projects, to expose them to public art, to art in general, but to see how it can have an impact on their life, on the community.
It's like fun because you can be creative and do what you want to do. So you can make your own stuff and no one would really care because it's your art.
We're going to have the words Glade Drive written up there, and if you can see faintly, there are circles we drew with chalk. That's where the stars are going to go. It'll be installed the 13th of July through the 17th of July, so if you're in the area and you want to swing by, we'll be working.
I've gone to the underpass and it looked kind of gray and kind of dull. It's all gray cement. It kind of wearing away in places.
What do you think it's going to be like with the artwork?
It's going to be a lot more interesting to walk through or enter or exit. I think it would just subconsciously, more people would like the Glade Tunnel, and even consciously.
As the students near the completion of their stars, Théberge and her crew install her 150-square-foot mosaic made up of around 75,000 pieces.
Working outdoors is always challenging because the materials, it's very critical you have the exact materials you need. Once you put the mortar on, you only have so much time before it dries or cures. It's a chemical process of curing before you can get that mosaic on and get it on straight and get it on correct.
Okay, ready? Hold on, I'm getting it. I got the top, gentle. It's kind of heavy for me. Yeah, to the right more, and up a little more, up a little bit more.
So you're not pushing.
Don't push, just hold it. Okay, that's getting better, it's getting better. We're losing a lot, but it's fitting in. manicure after this because my hands are getting ruined. These whites are not staying on. Okay, I haven't been able to step back yet. I'd really like to. Oh, okay. That's good. What a relief. Yay.
It's kind of inspired by my fish because I just got a fish and it's kind of like the colors of it, and I wanted to make it look like it because I like my fish and I think it's pretty. So.
If you look for a pattern, it's going to be basically impossible to see one. So it's just pointless trying to look for a pattern, and so it's kind of unique that way.
Do you have a name for it?
The starfish.
Each one is a total individual voice. So they're like little quiet, twinkling voices, and I love them. I think they look really beautiful.
How do you feel when you see your mosaic up there?
I'll feel excited because a bunch of people will be looking at my star every time they go through the Glade Tunnel.
How does that feel to know that?
Exciting, and you feel kind of famous, like you're famous almost.
How great is this to be here this afternoon with our very first public art project? What makes this so special is it's absolutely, truly a Reston project. Every element of the community came together here.
It feels like a happy explosion of fun and whimsy, and it echoes the setting, and it's just wonderful.
No,
the red and green on the square. I thought that was yours.
No, ours had those fireworks.
Oh, here, on that side, right there. The last one.
I don't know. Yeah, I see mine. Mine's in between the one that looks kind of like the North Star. It feels really good. I feel like I've been a real part of something. I have to agree with Noah. It feels like we really helped contribute to this.
He's been part of the change from something banal and bland to something beautiful, and he's got pride. You can't ask for more than that as a parent.
They were so committed to the project, and now seeing their work at the Glade Underpass seems to bring them a lot of joy and pride, and IPAR is very proud of this success.
I want a sense of joy or enrichment in one's life when they see it, an inspiration, even if that's just a flash in the back of their mind. The way that color, line, and form seeps into people's world, I think it helps people know that maybe life is beyond the monotony that we experience every day in our just basic activities, and that there is a lot of vibrancy in day-to-day life.
And that's what art should do. It should inspire us and make us feel better about everything that we do.
When Cornerstones was established in 1970, its founders recognized that even in a community where people are welcomed and are welcoming, regardless of race, ethnicity, religion, or socioeconomic background, people could work hard and still not earn enough to support their families, that there would always be hungry people or people in crisis. Many in our community are just one unexpected life event away from living in their car or on a friend's couch or on the street. No one plans on being homeless.
My life before, I was the owner of a big pharmacy in Washington, D.C. In August of 2010, I discovered an embezzlement of several $1 million. And by the summer of 2014, I have lost everything. The house and my business. We have yet to leave the house in Great Falls. And in October 4th of 2014, we entered the Embry Rucker Center. My first impression was a surprise. It was a pleasant surprise. The people were very, very nice. I got a nice welcome. And we got a nice room. And my biggest surprise was the food. There was a kitchen with 4 ladies cooking fresh food 3 times a day. And my biggest pleasant surprise was my case manager. He provided a lot of love and psychological support, and he explained to me all the services that Cornerstone is providing for the homeless people.
Our comprehensive programs provide stability to people in times of crisis, resources that promote empowerment for moving forward, and hope for the future. At Cornerstones, we meet people wherever they are, without judgment.
Now I have my home. My daughter, she's in school, she's very good. She's gonna go university. My husband, good job working. Now I'm thinking to go to university, to finish my university, and to find good job after that.
Providing stability is only the first step. Where Cornerstones is different from other organizations is in providing the gift of time and resources that continue after the immediate crisis has passed. Cornerstones empowers people to take the next step in what is often a longer journey to well-being through their own hard work and the tenacious support of Cornerstone staff, volunteers, and partners. And we see the difference that makes every day.
I become a citizen and I enjoy the class, and it's helped me also. My English is become better and I speak better now, and I understand also people when they talking. And after that, I interested and I help her in the class. When I become citizen, I still come every week and help in the class.
When we got the place, the Cornerstone has been extremely supportive to us. They furnished the house because I didn't have anything left. New beds, tons of food, and any supply you can imagine. My case manager came here, brought cleaning things, sheets and clothes and food. So the ladies came here, they fixed everything for us. So it was an easy and very pleasant transition from the shelter to this place. And I'm very appreciative.
These individuals can imagine a future they thought out of reach and can begin to make goals for a better future. Goals we all share for ourselves and for our children. Goals that are possible with the support and partnership that you provide.
Immediately when we moved to the community, we knew that Cornerstones was going to be an excellent partner and build a strong relationship with us. We've been very involved with the organization, whether it's volunteering at the Embry Rucker Shelter, participating in the Help to Homeless walks, and just frankly helping to secure affordable housing for those individuals living in our community. It's such a critical need to build a better Reston.
Cornerstones is proud of the role we play as a participant, convener, interconnector, and advocate, bringing people and sectors together to solve some of our region's most challenging problems. Our readiness program for job seekers has been adopted countywide, and with our business leaders, we're defining the skill sets needed for our current and future workforce. With Reston's Opportunity Neighborhood Initiative, Cornerstones is working along with our partners to see that all children thrive in a healthy start in life and are prepared to excel in school and career. And true to Cornerstone's founders, we believe that our job is to end homelessness, not just manage it, by developing housing that is affordable for people over their entire lifetime. Together with our partners, we have reduced homelessness in Fairfax County by 47%. We remain firmly rooted in the Reston community goals handed down by its founder. We apply the value that all may live, work, play, and serve in the many areas which Cornerstones operates today.
Cornerstone, it's a very, very important organization. Based on my experience, is providing a tremendous help to needy people. And I cannot express in words how appreciative I am for what Cornerstone has provided for me and my son. And most of all is, besides again all the material things we get, is the love and the attention we get from the case management.
It's like I'm become like, now I'm doing things, I'm happy. Yeah.